You've seen the videos. I did a dopamine detox for 7 days and it rewired my brain. How to reset your dopamine in 72 hours. Millions of views, hundreds of thousands of shares, people locking their phones in kitchen safes, banning music, banning food they enjoy, banning conversation itself, raw dogging existence under the assumption that their brain chemistry needs a hard reboot. But here's the thing nobody in those videos tells you, and it's kind of important. Dopamine is not a toxin. You cannot fast it out of your system. The entire metaphor, detox, cleanse, reset, is built on a fundamental misunderstanding of what this molecule does inside your skull. And the guy who invented the term dopamine fasting, he spent years trying to tell the internet they got it completely wrong. Nobody listened. So if dopamine detox is a lie, why does your brain feel like a browser with 47 tabs open? Why can't you focus on anything for more than a minute? Why does the buzz of a notification feel more rewarding than finishing actual work? Why does silence feel uncomfortable? Why does your own company feel boring? The real answer is stranger and far more useful than anything a productivity influencer will sell you. And it starts with a monkey and a juice reward. In the 1980s, a neuroscientist named Wolfram Schultz, now at the University of Cambridge, ran an experiment that changed how we understand motivation forever. He trained monkeys to expect a drop of juice after seeing a light. Then he measured the activity of dopamine neurons in their brains. The first time the monkey got the juice, dopamine spiked hard. Obvious enough. Reward equals pleasure. But here's where it gets interesting. After the monkey learned the pattern, light, then juice, the dopamine spike moved. It no longer fired when the juice arrived. It fired when the light turned on. The dopamine wasn't about the reward. It was about the anticipation of the reward. The wanting, the seeking, the almost having it. This distinction rewrites everything you think you know about your brain. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical. It's the motivation chemical. It's the molecule of craving, not satisfaction. It's what gets you to pursue something, not what makes you enjoy it once you have it. And this, right here, is the system your phone has hacked with surgical precision. Every notification, every swipe, every infinite scroll is a cue. Your brain releases a micro spike of dopamine not when you find something good, but when you might find something good. Maybe the next post is hilarious. Maybe that message is important. Maybe you've gone viral. The unpredictability is the point. Psychologists call it variable ratio reinforcement. It's the same mechanism that keeps a gambler pulling the lever on a slot machine. You don't know when the payoff is coming, so you never stop. Your phone is a slot machine in your pocket. And you pull the lever 200 times a day. Now, let's talk about what the dopamine detox influencers got right, before we tear apart what they got disastrously wrong. They notice something real. People feel mentally drained. Focus is collapsing. A book feels impossibly slow after 2 hours of 30-second clips. A conversation without checking your phone feels unnatural. Boredom has become unbearable. Something in the modern environment is clearly messing with our heads. They were right to name the problem. But their solution? Starve your brain of all pleasure so your dopamine receptors reset? Is built on a fantasy of how neurochemistry works. Dopamine is not a finite tank you drain by using your phone and refill by staring at a wall for 3 days. Your brain produces it constantly. It has to. Dopamine is essential for movement. Parkinson's disease is literally dopamine neurons dying. It's essential for motivation, learning, working memory, and the basic functioning of being a conscious human. You cannot detox it any more than you can detox your heartbeat. Talia Lerner, a neuroscientist at Northwestern University who has spent her career studying dopaminergic circuits, put it bluntly. The phrase dopamine detox, she says, rubs scientists the wrong way because it's wildly imprecise and confuses public understanding of what this molecule actually does. It's not even clear what lowering your dopamine would mean. The system has multiple circuits, multiple receptor subtypes, modulators layered on modulators. It is not a volume knob. Even Cameron Sepa, The psychologist who originally coined the term dopamine fasting back in 2019 has spent years trying to correct the record. His version was never about reducing dopamine. It was a cognitive behavioral therapy technique designed to help people reduce compulsive behaviors. Checking your phone during dinner, scrolling before bed, reaching for Instagram the moment you feel an uncomfortable emotion. The name was catchy. He admits that. The internet grabbed it and turned it into a cartoon version of itself. Lock yourself in a dark room, avoid all pleasure, and your brain will supposedly reboot like a router. Sipa has been clear. That extreme version is not what he intended. It is not supported by evidence, and it might actually make things worse. Because here's what actually happens when you try to cut out all stimulation cold turkey. Your brain doesn't reset. It panics. The cravings intensify. You're not teaching yourself self-control. You're teaching yourself that the thing you crave is even more precious, because now it's forbidden. This is why most people who attempt an extreme dopamine detox binge harder when it's over. The pendulum doesn't settle in the middle. It swings further out. So what is actually happening inside your skull? And what actually helps? Dr. Anna Lembke, professor of psychiatry at Stanford and author of Dopamine Nation, offers a far more useful framework. Modern life has raised the bar for what feels rewarding to an unnatural height. Your phone offers an endless stream of novelty, social validation, entertainment, information, all of it calibrated by algorithms that have studied your behavior more intimately than your closest friend ever could. This flood of high-intensity stimulation doesn't destroy your dopamine. It changes your baseline. Think of it like this. If you eat sugar every hour, an apple tastes like cardboard. If you watch 3 hours of TikTok, a 30-minute documentary feels agonizingly slow. Your brain hasn't been damaged. It's adapted. It has calibrated its expectations to a world of constant high-intensity stimulation. And when that stimulation suddenly disappears, even for 5 minutes while you wait for coffee, your brain's prediction engine sounds an alarm. Something is wrong. The usual inputs are gone. You feel an almost physical urge to pull out your phone. That's not dopamine withdrawal. That's your brain's prediction machinery screaming into the void. Gloria Mark, a professor of informatics at UC Irvine who has studied attention for decades, documented something startling. The average attention span on a screen has collapsed from 2.5 minutes in 2004 to 47 seconds. 47 seconds before your brain starts hunting for the next stimulus. And it's not a character flaw. It's not that you're weak or undisciplined or part of some degenerate generation. It's that the digital environment has been engineered by the smartest people in the world to fracture your attention, and your brain adapted exactly as evolution designed it to. Every notification creates what researchers call attention residue, fragments of the previous task that stay lodged in your working memory, even after you've switched to something else. You glance at a message for 6 seconds, then try to return to your report, but a piece of your mind is still composing a reply. Do that 200 times a day and you are never fully present on anything. You're always partially somewhere else. A 2026 study published in the Journal of Neuroscience found something even more troubling. Dopamine loops triggered by infinite scrolling reduce activity in the prefrontal cortex by 18%. That's the part of your brain responsible for executive function, planning, impulse control, focusing on long-term goals, resisting temptation. When it's fatigued, you become worse at the exact skills you need to break the cycle. The loop tightens. You reach for your phone because your prefrontal cortex is tired, and reaching for your phone makes your prefrontal cortex more tired. So what actually works? Not a detox, a recalibration. The first and most boring principle, your brain doesn't need less dopamine. It needs less noise. It needs extended periods where the constant stream of variable rewards is turned off, so your attention system can rebuild its capacity for depth. This is not about starving yourself. It's about practicing focus, the way you'd practice an instrument, with patience, with repetition, and without expecting to be great on day one. Friction is your friend. Delete the most addictive apps from your phone. Not forever, just off the device. Use the browser version instead. The extra 10 seconds of typing a URL give your prefrontal cortex a fighting chance to ask, do I actually want to do this right now? Behavioral economists call this adding friction to bad habits, and it is embarrassingly effective. Research from Duke University's Center for Advanced Hindsight found that simply turning off notifications reduced phone pickups by 20%. Not willpower, not a life-changing epiphany, a settings toggle. Schedule your scrolling. This sounds obvious to the point of insulting, but almost nobody does it. Give your brain permission to check social media at specific times in specific windows. Noon, 6 p.m., the end of the workday. When your brain knows it'll get its fix at a predictable time, it stops pinging you with craving signals every 7 minutes. The uncertainty is half the addiction. Remove the uncertainty. Replace the stimulation instead of just removing it. The people who successfully rebuild their attention are not the ones who lock themselves in an empty room for 72 hours. They're the ones who swap high-intensity stimulation for moderate-intensity stimulation. A walk without headphones, where you hear actual birds and feel actual wind. A paperback book with pages you turn with your fingers. A conversation where both phones stay face down on the table and nobody checks them for an hour. Your brain needs to relearn that ordinary, low-stimulation experiences can feel good. That takes practice, not starvation. And here's the most counterintuitive finding. A 72-hour break from your phone can produce measurable shifts in how dopamine behaves in your brain, not by lowering it, not by detoxing it, but by changing the patterns of when and where it's released. Dr. Raphael Wald, a neuropsychologist at Marcus Neuroscience Institute, and Dr. Emma Ducka, a neuropsychologist at Baptist Health Miami Neuroscience Institute, both point to recent research confirming this. A short break reduces the constant anticipatory spikes, stabilizes the reward system, and gives your prefrontal cortex room to recover. The mechanism is not detoxification, it's recalibration. It's giving a tired system time to rest. The word matters because the metaphor matters. When you believe you're flushing a toxin out of your body, you think in terms of extremes, total abstinence, total purity, then inevitable relapse. When you understand you're recalibrating an instrument, you think in terms of practice, maintenance, small daily adjustments. One mindset leads to binge and purge cycles. The other leads to sustainable change. The dopamine detox industry is selling you exactly what it claims to cure. A quick fix. Just starve yourself for a weekend and your brain will be fixed. That is the same instant gratification logic that got you hooked on your phone in the first place. The promise that one dramatic gesture will solve everything. No boring daily effort required. It's a seductive lie wrapped in the language of neuroscience. The real solution is slower. It's less Instagrammable. Nobody is going to make a viral video about reading a book for 20 minutes without checking their phone or going for a walk where they notice the color of the sky. But that's the work. You build focus the way you build anything, with consistency, with patience, with the acceptance that progress is measured in weeks and months, not in a single weekend of sensory deprivation. Your brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what evolution built it to do. Seek novelty, anticipate rewards, conserve energy for the things that matter. The problem isn't the mechanism. It's the environment. And you can change your environment without locking yourself in an empty room and pretending your dopamine needs to be sweated out like a weekend juice cleanse. The girl in the viral video who locked her phone in a safe for 7 days, she got one thing right. Stepping back from constant stimulation matters. But she got the reason completely wrong. You're not detoxing. You're not cleansing. You're not resetting some imaginary chemical meter. You're giving your attention, your actual, finite, precious attention, a chance to come home. So, no, you don't need a dopamine detox. You never did. What you need is to stop treating your focus like it's infinite. Stop letting strangers in Silicon Valley decide what's worth your concentration. And start giving your brain the one thing it's been starving for this whole time. Not less pleasure, less noise. And maybe, just maybe, the next time you see a video telling you to lock up your phone and suffer for a weekend to fix your brain chemistry, you'll hear it for what it really is. Another person trying to sell you a quick fix for a problem that can only be solved by doing the slow, boring, unglamorous work of paying attention to your own life. Your brain was never the problem. The noise was.